up. Thank God.
Hold on.
This is the best part about when I do this from my Mac, because I at least can just pull up my iMessages and it's like,
I
oh,
have,
there's
yeah,
everything.
I have to do this. Let me tell everybody that we're online and do that, and then we could say, hey, this is Dad's Bet Baseball. So here's what I will. We are okay. So if anyone's listening, this is Dad's Bet Baseball. You are listening to it live on KCRW,
If anyone's
Los
listening,
Angeles.
come on. The
If
world is
anyone's listening.
listening.
Well, okay. I want to, before I get into, well, first of all, Adam Rosenberg, if you've never listened before, CJ Busky,
AKA Slippin' Jimmy.
AKA Slippin' Jimmy, CJ. Hold on, I'm looking for our what did I say that I wanted to start with? Well, hold on, wait. What did you want to start with? And then I think I want to start with the elephant in the room. That I didn't list.
You want to what about?
Wait, hold on. Wait. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. We're starting. Okay, so we're gonna do the Hall of Fame bet segment. If you're just listening, we use Hall of Fame bets. We love it. It's great. Use code DADS. We're not just saying that. This isn't a shitty ad read. There is a QR code in the middle if you're watching this. And if you go to hofapp.com, you just put in our code and you get 25% off the first month. You get 7 days free. We cannot say enough good things about this product.
Going to be talking a lot more about it with hockey.
We will. And I also want to say, because this did come up with a friend of the program, I had mentioned that we don't hawk a product that we don't use. We use it in collab with a lot of products, including our own. And that is kind of how we see how betting ecosystem technology should work, is that people should be mixing and matching. I know that everyone wants one ring to rule them all, but bettors don't really work that way, and I don't think that it exists. So that said, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, because I got a lot of accolades this last couple of days. It's been very big on Adam Rosenberg. One of them was for this casual Drake Maye 2 touchdowns. That
I'm so glad. You know what's funny? The first thought I had in my head was, you're gonna bring up fucking Pete Alonso again, and then I was like, oh wait. Well, we've already discussed that. No. I'm good with this one. It's the Drake
I want to talk about
the
this.
Drake Maye double score.
That double score was fantastic. And I thought, and look, it was a solid angle. Saturday
Can you
night.
Walk me through your reaction, by the way? Like, when did you watch it live?
I watched it live. So I watched. So let me get to. I want to get to my messages that I had with Kramer. What is this? I said to him. Okay, so here's what I said. I said, Drake Maye. This is at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. Drake Maye is 50-1 for 2 TDs. Doesn't that seem way off to you? What's his ATD from Kramer? 5-1. Yeah. Wow. Exactly. Yeah, that's not right.
That's a bonkers number for his anytime touchdown.
That's a bonker. Yeah, well,
that's crazy.
He only up until then had 2 this year. My entire cap was high stakes game against a team that's bad against the run. Like, that was literally my entire cap. And
he's still a running quarterback. It's still okay.
I said, well, I'm betting that straight. It just doesn't seem right. And then I said, and I'm also parlaying it with Josh Allen 2 TDs at 280-1. And he said, yeah, that sounds like a lot, but great. And then he wrote wet. And so needless to say, I watched it though with my wife, because the deal that I made with my wife was, okay, I will not watch the Eagles game. I will watch the Patriots game with you. And in fact, I will take care of the kids if they start to bother you, so that you can watch this. My wife is a Patriots fan. She's from Massachusetts.
Oh, I didn't know. I knew Caitlin was from Massachusetts, but I didn't know that she was a Patriots fan.
Well, she doesn't listen to this pod, so she's a basic Patriots fan. So she's like she's like a Tom Brady Patriots fan. Like, she doesn't know. I don't think she knows who the quarterbacks were in between. But
she's looking for the sequel for 80 for Brady.
Basic, you nailed it. So Drake Maye scores his first touchdown, and that is actually right away. And that is when I revealed to her, hey babe, you know how I do all this betting content? Yeah. So I'm pretty good at it. And she said, oh yeah, no, I gathered that. But I said, no. There's also a bet that's going on here that if it cashes, whatever you want for Christmas, like whatever you want. And she said, great. What is it? And I said, well, I have $100 on him to score 2 TDs at 50-1, to which she said, is $100 like that sounds like a lot. I'm like, now that you're discovering my world from the last 5 years.
I can't wait to continue talking about this. Keep going.
She has no idea. Like you have no idea. So it would be very different if things weren't going well, but they're fine. So he hits the second one, obviously in the end of the first quarter. And I said, whatever you want for Christmas. My phone blows up. First person who calls, I called them because I knew that they were going to call me, was Sean.
I knew it.
Yeah. Who just said, dude, I only looked through your DGen stuff, which he said, great, by the way, and highlighting this is the DGen stuff. Cause that's that allows everybody to kind of know. And he said, I love it. It's great. Corey, everybody, like the best part about it. And then Kramer texted me. He says, was it you who was talking to me about Drake Maye 2 TDs? And I said, yes, it was. And, the fun thing about it was, first of all, the rest of the day I did a great day, but the rest of the day I was like, I don't care. Like I finished 2 and 3 in circa, but I didn't care.
You're like Ray Knight coming in at the bottom of the 10th in 1986, basically at that point. You're cloud nine.
Yeah, I was fine. I just said, oh, wow. I was like, well, this is some good birthday magic. And it was literally a no sweat cash on a 50-1. But the cool part was, and I mean this completely, so many people tailed that were part of like our group. And I know you are like me, you're like busy with the kids on the weekend. So like you get some of my stuff. I don't know what you do get, but you get whatever. And it's that thing. I played
almost all your other stuff, but the DGen stuff, I was like, do I have time?
Well, so here's the second thing. So I didn't also spoon feed that one to you. The postscript to this and the elephant in the room. I do spoon feed to you first TDs. And there's a first TD then on Monday that
90-1
90-1, and I never heard anything from you, and I don't know if you missed out on both and it was one of those.
Nope. I did cash.
Oh, you did get that? Okay, great. Great.
Yes, I was actually asleep when this happened because the first TD didn't even happen, I think, until what, almost halftime?
Like 3 minutes left. Yeah.
You
did get it.
So I did get it. Oh, yeah.
Okay, excellent. I bet all right, cool. First TDs. All right, cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I didn't know. I thought he went to bed. So anyway, then there's no elephant in the room. I was very worried that on 2 back-to-back monster hits that you missed them both as
Drake
a friend of mine who I bet with the most.
I am upset. I'm upset with myself on that, not because I'm like shit. Because look, I don't want to ever tell people like listening to this show that you should get FOMO, like do FOMO betting. Don't do FOMO betting. Only bet stuff that you like. And if somebody that you are tailing, most of the stuff that you play anyways, that I'm going to be in a line or agree with, then bet it. But don't bet it just because you're like, well, I just need to tail it because I'm going to get FOMO if it doesn't hit.
Right.
Drake Maye scoring 2 touchdowns. That made a ton of sense from a cap perspective. I do this all the time with Josh Allen in games against the Chiefs, games against the Ravens. Like you could have actually, I think, cashed the same one against the Ravens earlier this season with him. Like running quarterbacks always run more and always are an option in the end in the red zone. You're going to pull those plays out more. So I'm just kicking myself that I didn't see that was, I just saw the DGen list and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like that's fun. But then whenever you actually hit the 2 TDs, it's like, damn, that's a great.
Well, I've been I've been massively at the end of the year bringing down my volume. I'm up, including those things. Like I'm up it's fantastic NFL year. And
up a lot. Yeah.
I've been pulling down also the amount of volume that's out there. And I'm just kind of focused on a little bit of just different caps now in these final couple weeks. Shout out, by the way, Adriana Red Seal. I just know you as I don't pronounce your name right, but I see you on all of our channels and you are a fantastic supporter of the program. But that is, it was just like to your point, it made tons of sense as a cap. Well,
can we hit on one quick thing then before we get into the Hall of Fame? Because I do really like the bet that you're gonna talk about here, which is just
ties into
back to the conversation with your spouse whenever you are about to cash. Because I had this happen. I had an SGP that I don't know. I think it was like I think it was like 25-1 or something stupid, but I had bet a stupid amount of money on it because it was the Christmas Day game with the Ravens and the Niners. And I was like 5 Brandon Ayuk yards away in the fourth quarter from this thing cashing. And I actually said something very similar to my wife to what you did on Sunday, which was basically wherever you want to go on the next vacation, this will pay for it. And then you have to, because there's like a decision you have to make when talking to your spouse about if you're about to cash big, because then you have to reveal, what did you bet on this?
Yeah. What
and
did
then
you bet
have
on
to
this?
decide, am I going to lie? And am I going to say, oh, was it just $1? And this was like a insane lottery ticket. Or do you kind of want to like, show yourself a little bit and say, oh, actually, I capped this correctly. And I bet, 50, $100, whatever, on this, like, 30-1 type of bet. And it's really just to prove like that I'm smart about making these crazy long shot odd bets. They're gonna hit eventually.
No, totally. And the other thing, like I texted it also to like Sean Green, and I'd said, hey, what do you think of this? And then he said, oh yeah, he's like totally makes sense. And then he also mentioned on the show, he's like, I didn't tail it. And then, but the thing is like, I don't usually have those bets. That's the thing. I'm so hyper conservative with my bankroll, like my unit size now is the same that it's been for the last 3 years. Like Noops and I had to talk about this when we were in Vegas. He says, he's like, and full disclosure, my unit size is $100. And he says, well, why don't you ever change it? And I just said, I don't know. I just can't I'm like, I'll double down on it on a local, but I just can't get it up to that. And he just said, well, he's like, you should. He said, because she's like, you can't grow 10% each year and do that kind of thing, which though I did, but neither here nor there. That's like not a sustainable way of doing it. I'm just super conservative about my bankroll, but I'm going to probably change that, and I can change it going forward. This, although, leads to the main point, is that the cap, the data is one thing, but this is more important than ever to watch the games and know the stakes. There is, like, for example, we've talked all season about this Chiefs team looking checked out and also not really having a lot to play for all year. Like, what does the Chiefs team have to prove at all? And now they're dead. And there's a lot of reasons to, like, I know the Titans are the very popular side this week. They're absolutely a public dog. Reality is that having watched also the Taylor Swift documentary and watched how Travis Kelce talks to Taylor Swift, like he is literally leaving practice to go sext her while she's on tour.
That's pretty sad that you had to put yourself through that, but yeah.
I thought it's really good. If you're a music nerd, it's really good because she just kind of, she produces as she does stuff. I liked it a lot. But my point is like, I don't think anybody on that team like cares. And I don't mean that they're checked out, but that team is probably like, cool, man. I'm trying to make my plans anyway.
I think it stems from Reed, to be honest, on that team. Like
there's no sense of urgency on that team.
Someone posted, because one of the things I like to do whenever either like dynasties sort of end or just teams that I hate start losing, like, I'll go on the Cleveland Browns Reddit every so often just to hate Reed. And I went to the Chiefs Reddit on Monday because I just kind of wanted to see like, what is the general sentiment of Chiefs fans? And it wasn't like anger. It was kind of the same thing you're saying. Like, it was just almost like disinterest. But someone had posted something about how Mahomes, I think in like 2022 and 2023, had like 7 to 10 touchdowns with 1 yard to go. And like, so first and goal with at the 1, basically, he had thrown at least 7 touchdowns. And they basically made the point of like, where the hell was all of this? Like they would get in the red zone. They would get into the goal line situations.
Yeah. The red zone offense
nothing was creative anymore. So it did that was like the first time I was like, maybe Andy Reid did kind of lose a step. Like, he's 68 years old. They just all seem,
there's no sense of urgency with that team. And that Spags defense wasn't very good all year. We waited for this, like, second half of the season. Now they're going to do it. Spags defense has not been good all year.
And
it's been a very mid team. From a
Pythag standpoint, like, people said this all off season, and the only response you would hear would be, well, it's the Chiefs. Like, they just figure out ways to win. Look at their Pythag from last year. I think I said this on like one of our first shows. Their Pythag said that they should have been basically like a 10-win team last year, and they won 15 games. They were the best record in NFL history in one-score games last year, and they have one of the worst in one-score games this year. Like, sometimes like that's just also that's just variance and how this shit works. So It's a combination of a lot of things. I hope Mahomes is healthy though for the beginning of next season. I don't
He'll be
want
fine.
to.
Brady did the same thing in his 9th year. I mean, Spencer just brought up the point that they're old, like in their jerry rigged, but they are. The thing is, I remember when Patrick Mahomes turned, I think he turned 30 or 31, and I was like, wow, he's old.
Yeah. We said that I think we said that on the show too.
Yeah, I was like, oh shoot, he's super old. Yeah. That said, let me do our Hall of Fame bet segment because this all ties into games that there is a stake on. Let's do this and share it. Okay, cool. Do you guys see this? Does this work? All right, great. All right, we're on the Hall of Fame bets page, and here is the play that I want to show you. There are 2 plays actually, but they have similar cap. One is for Saturday, one is for tomorrow. And what I'm going to show you is Sam Darnold. I took a rushing ladder on Sam Darnold. So one, Sam Darnold does terribly against the Rams no matter what team he's been on. They chase him around the pocket like it's nobody's business. He also does not have his left tackle, crosses out, and that just creates reasons to run. So I'm going to show you, though, here. We are definitely, as CJ mentioned, in rush yard season for quarterbacks, especially in division. So nothing spectacular here. Looking at least, if you look at least 10, let's be normal. Let's look at 5. Even money. He had 5 last week. Against the Colts in a look ahead. He had 23 2 weeks ago against Atlanta. And then here's the filter that I used, and one of the filters that I really love about Hall of Fame bets. Look what happens against the NFC West, no matter what team he's been on the last 2 years. It is, and I will fully say, like, these NFC West teams are all kind of built the same. They're all built with really solid pressured.
See, I never used the division filters, so this is interesting.
I love using it. So it was part of the reason why I used some things on Tua over completions against the AFC North, because it's the same types of defenses in cold weather. And so I was like, okay, well, what could it look like if he does this against these teams? So the reason I use division a lot is because they play these teams. It's familiarity. Mm-hmm. They're familiar with each other, and teams are familiar, and teams are also built similar within each other because they're playing each other multiple times within that division. So obviously Sam Darnold was not on the Seattle Seahawks last year. He was on the Minnesota Vikings, but he still had problems with this, with NFC West teams, to a point where he was constantly running. And the average that he has against NFC teams, I mean, this is pretty stark. It's a pretty big sample size. And he, and this, stretches all the way back to the beginning of last year. He's averaging 15.5. High stakes game that they lost the other one to the Rams. If they lose this, they could drop as far down to 7. If they win this, they put a stranglehold on the division because they can win out. And I took it, and the number's 5. By the way, if you really want to get creative, like, he had 11 against them 2 weeks ago. So even if you don't want to care about that stuff, it still works out really well. So it's one of the things I like about Hall of Fame bets is that you can look at the last 2 seasons, which I think is just a solid way to do sample sizes against teams. And I love this. I also bet his anytime touchdown 17-1. I find that touchdowns that are a sharper, and by sharper, I mean just off market price on FanDuel, I find to be more accurate. I just think FanDuel in general is better for that. So that said, I'm on that tomorrow. So I did a ladder. I did it up to 20 yards. We could take a look at this, and you can see that 10 is plus 220 and 20 is 610, which is phenomenal. So did a little bit on that, did a little bit of a rushing ladder on a primetime game. And I did the same type of thing. You get a bonus play here with Jalen Hurts under passing attempts, which first of all, he just never goes over it to begin with. And then when you look at NFC East, the only times in the last 2 years he's gone over it have been in losses. And the only time he goes over it in general are in losses. I expect him to win. And that is part of the cap for the whole thing, because they clinch the division if they win this.
We also talked about this whenever I think I had played this back when they were playing the Rams in week 3. And the first thing you said to me was, "Oh, so you think they're going to win?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe." And you're like, "Yeah, okay." Then that.
Well, and so that kind of made the, you just got muted. didn't. Oh, there you go.
I did. I'm here.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if you meant to. But, well, that was part of my cap on Drake Maye. Drake Maye only goes over his rush. I mean, obviously a lot of losses last year, but he went over his rushing all the time when he was losing. And when they started winning, he stopped. When the win streak really kicked into gear, he stopped running. And I thought they were going to lose the game anyway. So this kind of goes back to the main point. Like when you cap a prop, cap what you think is going to happen within the game. And you have to do that and reverse engineer it from there. So that is our Hall of Fame bet segment. Again, use code DADS. Our guest does stuff with Hall of Fame bets, so we're not being awkward about things in here when we talk it up when we bring in McInnis, who's in the back room right now. But Sam Darnold over 4.5 rushing yards, ladder it up. Jalen Hurts under 28.5 pass attempts. It's also really effing high, just for a guy that say what you want, but it's not what he's doing. So yeah, all right. That's all I got. So. Love it. Well, should we bring in our guest? What do you want to do?
Let's do it. I'm ready to talk some puck.
All right, let's bring in the guy to talk about it. Hey, Andrew.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
This long time coming. We are excited. This is it. You get to be. So, Andrew, I'll get Andrew talking a bit, but I've been a fan of Andrew before I became friends with Andrew. He is one of the best hockey minds. He's a pro hockey bettor. He's a friend of ours. He's helped us build what we're going to show you in terms of giving feedback. He's also going to give live feedback, which may crush CJ's spirits, but is going to be for positive reasons. And
I do live demos, by the way, McInnis, in my actual other job than doing this podcast. So nothing you can say is going to bring me down. I know how to navigate these things.
All right. So Andrew, thanks for coming by. What's the weather? Tell everybody where you are right now for those that are new to.
I am in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, east of Massachusetts, pretty much. That's the best thing I will say. East of east. Everyone says, "Oh, you're near Maine." No, not exactly, but Maine is the closest state to where I am for all the Americans out there. But I am one of the farthest east you can get in Canada. So and cold. I will tell you, a lot of people think. Oh, it must be so cold where you are. It's colder in Quebec most of the time. It's colder in Ontario most of the time. It's colder in Winnipeg most of the time. It's just we don't get that really nice snowfall that much. We get a lot of rain and slush. It will go from a pretty cold day and then the kind of the cheesy saying people have where I live is how do you know you're in the Maritimes is that you've gone through 4 seasons in one day. It will be freezing to you need a coat on to you can take your coat off, and that's pretty much describes where I live. But for anybody out there that lives in the Boston area, people call where I live kind of Canada's version of Boston, just a smaller.
I was gonna say it sounds like San Francisco almost with the microclimates. It sounds like you guys are basically like you get the what is it, the marine layer probably?
Yes.
Or I was going to say Iceland.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, hockey lovers here, that's for sure. And Adam, I appreciate everything you guys have done for me and you helping me out and all the connections we've done. And I feel like I've been learning from you with your player props. I thought I knew player props, and then I saw these bets you guys have been making. So you've actually got me into the goalie save props. I used to bet them and dabble, and now I'm really enjoying them. Yeah,
it's awesome. I narrowly
there's a reason that those markets don't open until later too. By the way,
I know.
Yes,
you can't get those goalie saves early. Anyways. Bird.
And CJ, the regression too. The regression with some of these goalies. I've been using the website Handigraphs. I'm this goalie's not going to be able to sustain that. This goalie's overachieving what he's doing, and I'm going to fade him. Yep. And everyone's oh, he's playing so well. I'm I don't think he can keep doing that.
Oh yeah, because you get to see you'll see the goals against, and then next to it you'll see expected goals is twice as much. It's this is going to fall apart. Like last night was a really good example. Dustin Wolf was a really good example last night. I said, I'm taking the over in this. And they had I think that there was 9 goals in that game or something like that. It was a no sweat. But to your point, I had a Tarasov first period saves tonight. It was 1 off because the Panthers blocked 8 shots in the first period. But I made this whole ladder for him because I'm well, look, he kind of looks like he stinks, but he's also just so terrible at controlling the puck. Either way, we're glad that you get to use it. You're kind of one of the minds that we thought about for it. But CJ's gonna live demo this and show you, and then you get to ask questions, and then we get to ask you about betting hockey.
Sweet.
And then we'll make you then we're gonna make you stick around for 30 seconds to do a promo, and then you can go do your friend's thing.
I already we just did like 5 minutes.
Oh.
I'm good. I'm good to go.
All right, then rock and roll.
I'm good to go.
All right, CJ, rock and roll.
Adam, you sound like my wife just giving me a to-do list.
I generally,
like, all right, you're gonna do this, then go do this, then go pick up the groceries, blah blah blah. All right, so for folks, so I'm demoing this, just showing this here. Obviously, our friend Andrew Berg and I, we use this all the time. We launched goalies. I think we actually announced this on the show last month, and we got to do the wonderful podcast there with Gaming Canada. So make sure to go listen to that too, because we talked a little bit about that. So goalies table, there's 3 tables that you guys can use for capping different hockey props and games. We had goalies that we launched as kind of the first piece of that. And, one of the big things that we had kind of mentioned there, McInnis, I know you mentioned this too, is like we have the, typical like you have shots on goal, saves per game. But then you can also break that down. I know one thing that I have liked to bet a lot is the, I think you do this too, Adam, which is the no goal in first 10 minutes. So use that.
You're absolutely going to lose that prop. So bet it now, because that is going to go the way of our double play bets. I guarantee.
These used to be boosted, by the way, all the time on like you get a DK gift. They used to do that a lot. So you can do this either way, either no gift or gift in first 10 minutes, but you're usually going to get prices better on no gift. So
is that hockey's version of Nerfy? Would you guys say?
It's absolutely. It's
hockey,
so electric.
Right?
Yes. It's totally the Nerfy, and the best part is
much more fun than a Nerfy too.
It's way more fun. I like, because Andrew, I remember when we first were putting together goalies, you had said, rebounds are important. And I didn't think about it until I got into the data of rebounds means it's like watching someone get 3 shots when they should have had 1, and which means volume, which means everything. And that's how we ended up capping. Like I pick for no gift. I'll find guys who are low volume shots and really good at controlling pucks. So no rebounds. And it's been a cash cow that I just know that they are going to I'm going to wake up and it's going to be removed from my DK and removed from my FanDuel any day now. It's because it's like we're like 18-2 or something absurd with it. So
one thing I like using here too, I don't know if you guys really use, so we do have high danger on here as well. So you have your high and your low danger opportunities. And for anybody listening, like Natural Stat Trick has a good definition of this. That's kind of the model that we use. But think of it as where the shooter is on the ice, and the angle of where that shot is coming from is going to determine a score. It's either 1, 2, or 3. So a 3 is going to be high danger, 2 medium, 1 is low. So one thing you can kind of use with not only the goalies tab, but I'll show the team stats tab right here. You can go and see like which of these teams are. And by the way, a lot of acronyms. We have this all on the Learn page. If you are, confused at what these mean, it's just there's so many different data points that you can be able to get through being able to pull some like the NHL Edge data and whatnot. But you'll see
red is good, blue is bad.
That's all you really need to know. It's like red is good, blue is bad. But you can kind of take like, look, is this team, for example? So actually, like, let's look at like last 10. So high danger shots, right? Who is the teams that are getting a lot of these like high danger shots? All right, so it looks like Tampa, Colorado,
Carolina.
No surprise. Carolina. There's a lot.
Carolina's absurd about it. It's just
if you look at literally Carolina or Colorado, which again, I think this would obviously line up with the quality of the teams, but like if I take out like or just do per game, and we go to like the scoring chances per game, like Colorado and Carolina are so far and away on a lot of these different stats here. But anyways, high danger stuff, you can go see teams that are getting a lot of these shots, these high danger types of shots, and then you can go back into that goalies tab and see like, all right, so what was one of the teams? So Carolina, obviously, how do these goalies do whenever you see high danger opportunities? So like Saros seems to be fine, but like if you're going up against Vejmelka, they're from Utah, not nearly as good whenever you see shots that are coming from the high danger zone. So that's like something, just a quick example of how you can kind of tie in one of the things here from the goalies page. And if you go to the team stats page, you can go see, okay, which teams are getting a lot of those high danger types of opportunities. And one thing you can go and do here is, all right, so we'll go, I don't know, Andrew, if you can do this yet, but like, all right, so let's say, they're playing Detroit. You click on Detroit, boom, you're right into the skaters tab. And that's actually going to show you all of the Detroit skaters right here.
That's
so you just
sick.
go to.
I didn't realize you could click it. I was waiting for that because that was a big thing for baseball. That was awesome.
And then all you need to do is you go and you see, okay, well, who's the skaters on Detroit that's getting a lot of high danger opportunities? And then I'll go look in the last 10. Larkin, he's having a career year. Leonard, Van Riemsdyk. These are guys that you can kind of target for some of those, maybe more of like an anytime goal type of prop. Or if you want to, even just play like the points per game, or not points per game, but a points prop as well. And then obviously we have that supporting data right here. So like, to me, I'd look at this and go, all right, Larkin might be a good op for a point tonight, right? He's been, averaging almost a point per game last 10. A lot of high danger opportunities going against a guy that is not necessarily good at high danger opportunities. And then if you even want to look at team
his
stats,
individual Corsi is insane. It's
you can go and see like, all right,
per game.
Who are the teams that have a lot of shots on goal? Detroit. All right. They're kind of like, middle of the pack there. But yeah, that's another example there of like how you can play like a scoring chance or high danger. So
that's awesome.
I'm kind of curious on your part, Andrew. So like, we launched team stats, which you obviously have, all these different splits. For you, like when you're looking and let's say you're trying to cap a spread or a total, what are some of the key things and splits that you're looking for?
I think specifically, I think that I want to know how a certain goalie is playing at home versus on the road. But I think I want to know, against certain types of teams, how they're performing. I think, because some teams, they don't get that many shots, but they have high value shots, high quality shots. Some teams, get a ton of shots, but they don't really mean anything, right? So I kind of want to know what certain teams look for and like that. And I feel like in what you just displayed there, the best thing that we can use for that is to find the secondary prop guys. Like I know you were mentioning Larkin, but when you had that page open there, for everybody watching, I think that the really cool thing, just to go back, I apologize for going backwards, but I think it's just like looking at this list, looking at some of these guys, when people are listening to podcasts, when people are listening to us talking about picks and talking about certain players' names, this is the website that they want to be using when they're trying to find the third line guy, the fourth line guy. Like, when you look across this list, like look at Andrew Kopp, for example, you're going to get value on a nightly basis for him to get a point. Moritz Seider, you're going to get value on him to, get a point or go shots on goal. And
he's
things
also on
like
the power
that.
play side note of Seider too, which is great.
So I just think that like, this is what you should be using Handigraphs for. Obviously we can use DeBrincat, we can use Lucas Raymond, but I just look at this and this is like unbelievable to look at because I'm seeing all these players that, let's be honest, like I said this on my show last night, like I am obsessed with hockey. I try and follow all these teams as well as I can. If you guys quizzed me right now and said, name 16 players on the Utah Mammoth, I would freeze because I'm not going to know all of them, off the top of my head. But opening this up and seeing this third line left winger that's doing very well on this team, this is where the value is. Because let's be honest, when people are betting player props in the NHL, guys, like for the Maple Leafs, how many people are betting Bobby McMahon to get a point every night, or
Austin
Nick Robertson
Matthews,
to get
anytime
a point?
Goal
scorer. All Austin Matthews.
Yeah. Every
Austin
single
Matthews,
same game parlay is going to be, like
no,
Detroit.
It's a great call out. It's a really good call out.
Yeah, it's awesome to look at.
It's interesting you mentioned because we don't, and that's a good call out there that we could probably put the matchup stuff. And I'm glad you brought the matchup stuff up because this is actually a thread that Adam and I had earlier this week. Because so if you go on, so we'll go back here real quick to the skaters tab. So we actually do have matchup based on at least for skaters. So if you click this right here, you'll see, okay, so let's say I want to see the list of skaters that are playing today. How do they perform? How do they score when they're playing, let's see, so we'll look at how do they perform when they're playing against really good teams, right? Colorado, Carolina, possibly even Detroit. Detroit's actually been a nice surprise this season as well. So how does the skater perform when they're playing really good teams? how do they perform when they play really bad teams? So you can go and see, like, look, Mark Stone, Mitch Marner, when they're playing teams that are bottom 10 in points, you'll be able to kind of go and filter down, like, oh, these guys are actually sick when they're playing really good
That's
teams.
Awesome.
And really bad teams. So Mark Stone actually seems to be a little bit more matchup proof in that sense. So if we go to like the all stats here, but you'll also see he's only had 4 games that he's played through there. And you can go and look at other things too. Like, well, what if you're playing a team that has a really crappy shots on goal defense? You want to start building. I like building a lot of shots on goal types of like SGPs. You can go and see like which of these guys have had. So like I'd be looking, probably great example right here, DeBrincat. About 3.5 shots per game whenever he's playing a bottom 10 shots on goal type of defense. And then what you can do is you can go into the team stats. And if you click by position, you can go and see, all right, well, which teams have been giving up a lot of shots on goal in the last 10? So I'll go shots on goal. And you'll see, okay, this is, if you guys are familiar, there is another website. I won't give them credit, but they do actually do.
We're nice because everybody uses.
All right. It's shopprops.com. They also have something similar here, but we do build all of these on our own.
Yeah, but this looks awesome.
So if you want to go,
ours is better.
So you want to go and see here. So which of these teams are allowing a lot of shots on goal to these different types of positions in the last 10? So I'm going to look and I'm going to see, okay, actually it looks like the Mammoth have been okay, but like right wingers. So that would be the one if I'm looking for a shot on goal against the Mammoth, probably in the last 10. But you can also filter this down by where are the Mammoth playing today? Are they playing?
They're playing with Detroit. They had a sneaky. Okay. It was a sneaky no gift that Shreeds and I thought about, and I didn't ultimately bet, and it still hit.
The only 6.5 on the board, right? The only 6.5, I think, of the day.
Yeah. Well, the first period. So we also have first period splits on the goalie stuff, and while Vizmelka is kind of. Well, that team cooled off massively the last 2 weeks. I was literally 2 weeks ago about to bet them for the cup at 35-1. They're now 150-1 because they just have gone on.
Did they lose like terrible. 6 in a row or something?
Yeah, they've been awful. Yeah. But our first period stats were like, well, wait, he basically falls apart in the second and third periods. And the first period, all of his shots on goal are low. All of his rebounds are low. And I was like, oh, this is a sneaky gift. And then Shreeds said he wasn't into it. Shreeds is my other Canadian that I talked to on hockey, and then I didn't bet it. So I just want him to know that he was wrong, but I was wrong about something earlier too. So
that position stuff is so cool to look at. Oh, sorry, CJ.
Yeah, no, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, everybody loves looking at the last 5 and last 10, but the more and more I look at handicapping props and looking at the work you put into this, like, I think it should just exemplify to people that using someone that's on a hot streak, that should be like reason number 3 or 4 to why you bet them tonight. Like the books are all aware of this guy's streak that he's on. They know this guy's hot. They might not know that he's hot against said team. They might not know he's good against, or this team's bad against left wingers or bad against centermen. My favorite thing is when a team overall is really good against shots in general, but they give up like the third most against defensemen. So that's like a huge discrepancy. It's like in the NFL when a team is like really good against the pass, but for some reason they get burned against tight ends. It stands out like a sore thumb.
Huge.
Because you're like, okay, tonight's the tight end night because this team is only bad against tight ends. Well, for here, it's like, okay, they're only bad from shots in the point. Like I know without even looking at it, my Montreal Canadiens and their goalies give up a lot of goals to defensemen. And there's certain teams that just like I had Sprinkle on Sergachev today. For the Mammoth plus 750 anytime goal because I just saw that they're playing a team that gives up a ton of goals against defensemen, so I thought it was worth a sprinkle at plus 750. But I think that's so important.
That's the most because CJ and I were talking about this the other day because I don't put positional as big of a value outside of defense because when they're playing, with the exception of just watching enough hockey and having played, like Tampa and Dallas are the two that I've ever seen where if you are center, they expect you to be staying in the center. But like Detroit's a really good example. Like Raymond, Larkin, DeBrincat, they cycle all around like the entire time. But that's why but where I'm converted is on the positional splits on a defenseman. Because if you are giving up an insane amount of shots at the point to defensemen, it means one, you're absolutely creating high danger scoring chances because angles are getting through to the point where there's going to absolutely be a rebound, and you're probably just not an overall good defensive team. But those props are always at 1.5. They're never, like, with the exception of Werenski, they are never, and maybe Dahlin sometimes, they are always really low, and there's just crazy value.
Well, and a lot of books too. Like I love building a lot of SGPs on Bet365, for example, just because their SGP prices are usually like a little bit better. And also they have the aspect of you can do milestones for almost every single player.
I love that.
So the milestones, a lot of the time I'll do that kind of similar, Berg, to what you're doing. Like I'll even just kind of do these like floor SGPs where I'll go, okay, like, so to bring up the point you were making there, McInnis, where you've got, so take a look at, all right, so we go to the team stats. So you look at the shots on goal. What are these teams that are elite so far this season at shots on goal allowed? Well, Florida Panthers list is one of those teams. I think they're sixth overall in shots on goal allowed. But then you go by position and you'll go to defensemen, bottom 10 in defensemen shots on goal. So they're not allowing a lot of shots on goal. You can see the reason. Again, a lot of this stuff, like the reason we built Handigraphs in the first place was to kind of help answer why. So you can still see why they're probably really good overall, because you have lower shots against centers, excellent against left wing, really good against right wingers, but 8.31 per game, at least shots on goal to defensemen. So back to what I was saying there, in terms of like the milestone stuff, one of the easy things you can do is you can go in and build a SGP to be like, okay, well, who are the defensemen starting for Carolina plays tonight, right? So, or not Carolina, sorry, Florida. They're playing the Kings. So then I'll just go and I'll be like, all right, well, let me filter down my game. And I'll just say, okay, so here's my Kings, here's my Panthers. And then all I want to do is put in, let's do like roll. We'll say it's got to have a D. Boom. Okay, so now I've got all my defensemen right here for the Kings. And then now all I need to do is go, all right, well, in the last 10, which of these defensemen have been getting a decent amount of shots on goal? Brant Clark, Dumoulin. There's easy SGP that you could be able to build. That took you what, like 90 seconds to kind of just go and
Clark's
see.
A stud too. I love that he's getting more playing time. I hate
that. It's like you start with the bad defense and you end with the good player. Whereas a lot of people start with the good player and they end with the defense. And I think that's kind of the best way, is like working backwards almost. Like, this team, we need to expose them in this way. Let's find the players we're going to expose them with. Not like, I would love to bet on this player tonight. Let's see if their defense is bad. You know, I feel like that's the way, because you're almost taking the player out of it. It's like people have that common thing like, oh, bet numbers, not teams. Everyone loves saying that in NFL and stuff. Well, this is what we're doing. We're betting numbers, not players. Like, we don't care who the player is at all. We just care about the numbers.
Yeah, we did the same thing with it's the same way we built the baseball version, to be honest, like originally, because it's why we started with the goalies on this whole thing. Like, it's the same concept. I don't care. We use Austin Matthews as an example. I don't care about Austin Matthews doing whatever he's going to do if the goalie's fantastic. Like, why would I? And we did this for baseball where it was cool. Let's go backwards. Who are the pitchers worth fading? Like, these are the guys who are controlling pace of the game and who's the defense worth fading? Then go backwards, then find these second guys and who are doing all that. So you're completely right. And it's
to do with coaching.
It's interesting you notice that because we applied it to all sides of the product.
Well, like Rick Tocchet, you're talking about the Flyers being good against like shots or bad against shots from defensemen, but they're good everywhere else. Rick Tocchet is a great coach. Like, I think he's done great things with Philadelphia. I don't think it's an accident that that's going on. Like, I think if Rick Tocchet looked at it and he's like, wow, we're doing great shots against centermen, great shot, but we're struggling. He's like, okay, cool. Let's let them try and beat us. Let's let the defensemen try and beat us. Whereas some coaches might be like, no, I don't want shots from the point. Go out there. But like, if you have, what is it? Mid-December right now. If we have that much data right now, it's clear that Rick Tocchet is telling those guys not to pressure the point that much. And so that's one thing cool as well, is that sometimes it might be a weakness of a team, but then sometimes it also might just be
a strength.
it might be something that they're just purposely doing, right? Like, let's say a team's penalty kill. For some reason, this team's penalty kill is stronger at protecting the left side, so the guys on the right side just somehow get more shots. I find that pretty interesting. So maybe Rick Tocchet could be listening to this and be like, yeah, they're right. We do give up a lot of shots to defensemen.
Well, but let me get my Handigraph subscription to take a look at that that data. Well, one other thing, last thing I'll just kind of share there, and then I know we wanted to just talk just some general puck with you on some thoughts in terms of where some of these teams are. You brought up the Flyers. I kind of want to actually bring up the Red Wings too, but you brought up McInnis too, like the idea of, hey, a lot of the value that you're going to see, especially when you're betting some of the player prop stuff, is look for guys that are going to be on like those, line 3, line 4. And then also what you can do is look at the guys that are getting a lot of time on ice still, that are part of those lines in like the last, 5-10 games. And then kind of line it up with, all right, out of these players, who is on these kind of like these lower lines, who is getting a lot of playing time and is at least doing something with that playing time. And that's where you can kind of go and see like, their different shots on goal. Like, Hurdle right here might be a good example of that. Like he's getting about same thing with, I can't even pronounce this guy.
Laferriere.
Laferriere. That's why I thought, okay. So you can do that too, where you can kind of filter down. You can see like, all right, I'm only going to look at players that are going to be on line 3 or line 4. And then just you sort it by, all right, who's getting a lot of playing time, who's doing a lot with that playing time. That's where you're going to find a lot of like the good prices on some of this stuff. And it's kind of similar. We talk in baseball season, where you're looking for guys that are like 6 or 7 in the lineup, but you're going to be getting a much better price on home run, and they could still be getting as much barrel on the ball, etc. That, you would see somebody like more like a Bryce Harper or something at the top of the lineup. So that's just something to kind of call out there too, is you can kind of go through and look and see like these are all updated too throughout the day. So if there's changes in where they're going to be playing in the line, if somebody's going to be coming in, coming out, that'll all be on here as well. So we did put in, by the way, also
my favorite thing
request,
is the one page. It's awesome, man. How everything's on one page. Like it's just, I have my monitors here, but in the summer when I was using the website for baseball, if I'm away visiting family or having fun in the summer, I just have my small little laptop with me, not having to have like 5 or 6 tabs. Yeah. That's my, like, there's so much I could say that's awesome about this website, but I love the fact, like, even like minimizing every, oh man, like that is unbelievable. Yeah, like seriously, and I'm not just saying that. It looks fantastic.
You've got a mobile view for it too. So like if you guys were familiar in baseball season, it's going to be the same exact, like literally, like if I go to baseball, like you're going to see the
cards are really slick. CJ did a really good job
cards on here. But we'll go back here anyways to hockey. But yeah, we did also add, and this is actually the last split or kind of data point I wanted to ask you about, which is, I know one thing when we were talking about building this and putting this together over the summer, you had mentioned how important you look at rest. I want to see guys in terms of like, how do they perform on 1 day, 2 days, back-to-backs? Can you talk a little bit about why you feel like that's so important? And do you feel like that's more of a metric that you would look on the goalie side or on the skater side?
I think it's really, really important. And I don't really know exactly why, because you'd think that with conditioning, with proper nutrition, if we had Chad Ochocinco on this podcast, he'd be saying people aren't eating enough McDonald's and they're taking too many protein shakes. They're getting injured too much. But whatever reason it is, guys, there's 82 games in a season. Number one goaltenders used to play like 62, 65. There were some years where some number one goalies would play like 70 games, right? But that's not the case anymore. Unless you're, Connor Hellebuck, unless you're Igor Shesterkin, look at the Vegas Golden Knights. They've literally been going 1-1-1-1-1 for a long time now. My Montreal Canadiens are having a goaltender disaster class right now. They haven't had one goalie start, back-to-back starts. I don't even think more than a couple times all season long. And I was looking at or listening to
Jakob Dobbs is so bad. He's really not good. Like, really.
Well, Montembeau was struggling big time too.
I know he hasn't played in like 3 weeks.
He just got sent down to the AHL, and then Fowler's called up, and now now Dobbs isn't doing good. And I was like, man, Dobish is my guy. And then all of a sudden but you know what's crazy? I'm happy that was the most accidental segue ever, because he is very good with rest. Like this season overall. And I just found this out last night listening to a Habs podcast, because it's pretty much all I do in my free time is listen to Habs podcasts. But his stats apparently with 3 days more or rest or there's a certain percentage of rest versus if he's on a back-to-back or if he's played. Like, it's funny because some goaltenders, they need to be in a flow, like almost like pitchers sort of thing, right? Dobish, it sounds like he would be the best goalie of all time if he played like once a month based on some of the numbers that he has. But some of these goalies, they want to get in the mix. They want to play every third night, every fourth night. So that's why it's really important to me. And I think that for some of these goalies, I think that they're not doing well with dealing with busy schedules. And I think this year more than ever with the condensed schedule, teams aren't practicing as much. Teams are busier. And I think that we're really, like, you guys know how it is across every sport. People love to fade second half of back-to-backs. In the NHL betting markets, I remember when I first started doing shows, it was almost like we thought it was too easy. Just fade a goalie when it's the backup. Like, if it was that easy, we'd all live in mansions and be on a beach right now, right? But it's not. And so we can use handigraphs to find out which team has the best, backup, how they're performing, when's the last time they started. Because, like, never forget the Allmark and Swayman 1A, 1B. Like, that was all time during their huge historical regular season they had before losing in the first round. But besides that fact, like,
well, that's what President's Trophy teams do. You know what I mean? That's, the one thing I would say on the backup thing is that you also watch enough hockey, you start to notice when a backup is in, the team's game plan generally changes to be more defensive. And that's why you'll see it on the site that out of the guys who are the backups, you'll see the shots on goals against over the last 120, 180 minutes, it's low. And I consider, so for me, I want to see, if I'm looking for overs, I want it to be at least 30 per game shots on goal, because that kind of gives a margin to do whatever. If it's low for a backup, you know why? It's because they're probably playing a much more defensive game. They might dress 7 and do that. And generally what they're not trying to leave their goalie out to dry. It happens all the time. You see it like frequently, like Urson is not nearly as, Vladar is not great, but Urson's not nearly as good as Vladar, but you see it, his shots on goal against is crazy low. He's facing like 16 per game because they're just hanging back and blocking everything. It's a good angle on when backups are in. Look for block shots.
Yes. And you know what? I was talking to someone that covers the Anaheim Ducks, and obviously I follow the Atlantic Division the closest. And he said, and I probably wasn't putting enough respect on this guy's name. He was like, you don't realize how much more comfortable we are when Lucas Dostal is in net compared to our backup or anybody else. And like, I was like, I knew Dostal was good, but I didn't know. And, and it really makes you think. And it's such a good point you make, Berg, because you know what? Fowler made his first start. He's supposed to be the next Carey Price for the Canadians. Like, high expectations. And the question is, did he have a good first start, or did the team play very well in front of him because it was a spark to the team? And I'm not trying to be a pessimist because of course I'm a fan, but it's such a great point that you make. The game plan changes. So, just because the backup is in there. And I'll tell you, looking at for some of these teams, looking at shot against and shot for, sometimes it could actually affect their shots for that game with the backup in because they're focusing too hard defensively.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, unless the only thing I would say out of all of this is if Jacob Markstrom is in goal, bet the opposing team's total over. That's
dude. It's so funny because they went on that when Hughes got hurt, they played more defensively for like 5 or 6 games. And now I watch and I look, and when it's he gives up so many rebounds, which also makes me realize I don't know how the Bruins won a cup with Tim Thomas as their goalie, because I just remember how bad he was at controlling the puck. And now that I have the data to be like, if you are giving up a ton of rebounds, you are not doing your team any favors. Like guys like Roman Cechmanek were terrible for teams because you literally can't control the puck at all. And you're just giving up 40 shots when it should have been 25. And it's insane. And I was talking about this with Shreeds the other day about it. But yeah, it's wild. We want to ask a couple hockey questions, but question that we had also for you, because we were talking about before you jumped in, was how does your girlfriend feel? What's your way to approach sweating a bet in front of your girlfriend?
Oh man, I actually love that question. I did not know you were going to. These are the questions.
Producer Spencer was like, you got to ask him about that.
I love you guys. Honestly, this makes me, I want to stay on here for a half an hour more with you guys after that question. That was it. I love that. Well, I'll tell you what, the funnier question should be, and this is going to sound like a funny transition from my girlfriend, but it should be, how does your dog feel? Because my dog is an anxious golden retriever that's 4 years old. He hates it when I watch hockey. He hates it. Like we have our TV is here and our backyard is like 2 steps away from like our living room, and we have, the sliding door and stuff. And like, we know he doesn't have to go out and take a leak because he just came back in. But if I'm going crazy, he's like pawing at the door. Like he wants to get.
I have a good story about this too. Keep going.
People are going to call like dogs are very
sensitive to watching sports. Yes.
Yeah. They don't like the stress. So I will say that he doesn't like it. As far as my girlfriend's concerned, she much more prefers to watch my favorite teams than my bets. And I always use this as an example. Like if she comes home and it's like, Saturday afternoon and I've got the Kansas City Royals taking on the Texas Rangers on the TV, she's just like, good luck, and like walks away. If she watches she sees the Jays on the TV and she's just like, oh, right on. Like, how's Vladdy doing? Or how's Kirk? Like, she's like Kirk's biggest fan. She thinks he's hilarious running the bases. She's not an asshole, but she thinks it's hilarious watching him run the bases. And she's like, big Kirk fan.
Like watching, objectively, it is. It is. It's great. He gets on base a lot.
She prefers watching like my favorite teams with me, like the Habs, because it's more like true fandom versus watching a sweat where she can just, it's almost like a different type of anger when it's like your favorite team versus a bet you made. It's hard to even describe what that difference is, but it's like my childhood, like loyalty since I was a kid versus like this team in the last 12 hours, I convinced myself was going to win. So yeah, she doesn't really like it, but I'll tell you, I think it's one of those things where she prefers to be informed. Like if I like start giving her my reasons, like she's like, okay, so you think this, you think that, but what's the worst? And I don't know if you guys can say this happens to you. I hope so. If you tell somebody that you like something for a certain reason, and then they're like, I thought you said this player wasn't very good. Or like, speaking of handigraphs, like I'm betting against this goalie. He's supposed to be pretty shit. And she'll be saying
about what he tells me about his bets.
I thought you said this goalie was pretty bad. And I'm like, he's supposed to be bad. I've clearly made a bad call. Like this is clearly not a good handicap. Don't rub it in.
I have a friend of mine, Andrew, that and I love this guy, but whenever I will tell him something that I like, and I'm very much like data oriented. I'm kind of looking, handigraphs. Like I want to go and try and actually build a legitimate cap. Whereas he's like very much just a degenerate. I don't give a shit what I'm betting. I'm just going to bet whatever I feel like that day. And he will do this where every time I will text him something I like, that he will just fade me automatically. And I dread that text. I dread that more than losing the bet, is hearing from him after being like, hey buddy, so I faded you. Like it just is like, it just kills me inside in my soul.
How good of a friend is this? How good of a friend is this?
Well, he'll just do it sometimes to just piss me off because he knows that it like gets under my craw. The other thing I was going to say too, what you were saying about the your golden retriever, I had a German Shepherd when I was growing up. This thing was like 120 pounds. It comes to the door, you thought it would like actually like eat your face off. Like huge dog. When we would watch Steeler games on Sundays, this dog would literally, he would hear the pregame radio at like 11 a.m. and he would go into the bathroom, lay in the bathtub, and would not come out until the game was over, until like 4 o'clock. He would literally lay in there for fucking hours.
It's sad.
So yeah, pets they're very sensitive to the teams that you root for.
When I got a dog, I was like, we're gonna watch together. It's gonna be so great. He's gonna love hanging with me. And it's the complete opposite, Berg. It's the opposite.
My daughter, she's 4, and like her only experience watching football is obviously watching Eagles games with me. And last year during the playoffs, like every game was stressful, and she just would follow me and mimic all my movements. And if somebody didn't do something and I would go, she just for no reason she'd go, and she just does the exact same thing. And she basically thinks that it's the Eagles and then the blue team or the red team. My daughter
does this too.
Yeah, and that's it.
It's just the color of the opponent.
It's just the color of the opponent, but she just says, "Fly Eagles fly!" Like that's her answer to if something goes badly. If I'm like, "Oh, they lost," she just goes, "Well, fly Eagles fly, Daddy. It's just they're gonna fly." And
here's my question to you then: what if she walked in the room and you were watching like Packers Bears? Would she be like, "What are you doing watching these teams?"
She would.
Like,
she would say,
"Who
she
are
would
these
look
teams?"
at the colors, or she would say, she would try to figure out if one's closest to a color of a team that she doesn't like. Like she watched like the Chargers the other week, and she knows that she doesn't like the Cowboys, and she says that team's the same color as is that the Cowboys? I say no. And she says, well, they're blue, so they're bad. So it would just.
I love that.
I don't know what she would do about two teams that are brown and green. Oh, she would actually see what she would see the Packers. She'd say, they're not the Eagles. And she'd say, that looks different. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And, the funny thing is, like, I'll be watching the Habs, and my dog, Henry, will be like, he starts pawing at my girlfriend. Like, he's letting us know he's like stressed. Like, I'll be like, are you kidding me? Like, how did he not score that? And then he just starts he's like getting up, or he'll like grab a toy and anxiety, and I start petting him. He's like, I'm like, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah. And then my girlfriend goes, what did you do? Like, you're upsetting him. Like, he thinks he did something wrong. I was like, I'm going to equally celebrate when they win as I'm going to be mad when they lose. That's just all part of it.
Pretty much. So I guess I got like one. Oh, go TJ, you go.
Well, I had a hockey question. I had a future question I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, ask it. Let's see. Let's talk about some futures here.
Because, why are the Detroit Red Wings 13-1 to win the Atlantic? Because, okay, I get it. They haven't made the playoffs in 10 years. People are they're not buying stock on Gibson and Talbot. And, look, Larkin's had a great season, like career year, if anything, for him. They've had some really good contributions from a couple other guys, Raymond, DeBrincat, et cetera. 13-1 for a team that is leading the division right now. I know it's Florida. I know it's your Habs. I know it's that is a crowded division. I just talk me out of why Detroit doesn't that they should be that long, or should they be that long?
Well, I think we're at that time of year right now where we're starting to ask ourselves, can this be sustained? Can this be sustained? And so far it has been. Like, CJ, I texted my buddy yesterday and said, is this the year we see the Wings go to the playoffs and actually do well? And he said to me, hey, they've done this before to us, or, to anybody. And they've collapsed later on. I'm like, well, it's December, like it's mid-December. I think that the big thing is
34 games in.
They win. They win. This was one thing that I was going to ask. It kind of came to my head during the end of when you were demoing there, was like, I'd love to, and I'm a team totals nerd. Like, I love the team totals. I fell in love with them because of the price. If we could figure out goalies, how many goals on average they give up in L's versus how many they don't get, how many give up in W's would be kind of cool.
We can do that.
Different things for teams. Yep. That would be actually
their goal differential. Their goal differential is negative, which is probably what you're kind of dancing around. That's the one reason that I could think of, is that.
Well, yeah, when you look at all the teams that are, and I just don't know if they can just outscore their way out of everything every night.
Right.
And I think maybe they have had a pretty good schedule. There's this website I use called I'll look it up right now. It's called Tankathon.
I love Tankathon.
Like,
we use Tankathon
we use Tankathon all the time.
Yankees bets. Yeah, it's great. All of our
let's see. NHL remaining schedule.
Strength of schedule.
Yeah, so let's see here. Which team has the hardest? And Detroit has the second hardest schedule remaining in the league.
But also that's all relative, because like you said, teams are going to regress and they're going to do whatever. I mean, for me, Detroit, the issue is well, I was wondering at the beginning of the year, why is Gibson's win total so low? And now I know. And they keep floating Talbot as a possible trade target. Like, to me, like, the negative goal differential is the cap on it. And also just the way it's so hard for me to take a future on a team when the the playoff structure in the NHL is so flawed, and I'm really annoyed they didn't fix it, because like I'll pivot to use an example, like the Wild, which everyone's talking about because they got Quinn Hughes, right?
Yeah.
And full disclosure, like this was talked about on 32 Thoughts. Is like, this isn't my original take, but it's a true take, is that if great, the Wild made that move, but because the way the playoffs are structured, they're still only the third best team in the Central, probably still at best the third best team in that league, in that conference, and they'd have to play the two teams ahead of them in their division as the road team in the playoffs, because they got rid of this. It stinks because of that, because they're going to basically, the Red Wings are going to have to play everybody within their division again, who we all know, like we just talked about. You said, oh, Florida's in there, and these teams, that Florida's been gaming the system for 3 years now. And so Florida's just like, we just have to be at least third or fourth and just play well then. And it just stinks. I think that's,
I understand.
And I think that's what, I think that's why I also wasn't looking at them for like, because if you look at their price for conference, it's 35-1. If you want to bet them to win the Stanley Cup, and by the way, this is from the Green Book. You can maybe find some better odds on this too. I'm just finding kind of a general price here, but 70-1 to win the Cup. Like I'm not trying to go as far as to say they're going to make this deep playoff run, and if anything, they're going to make the playoffs, and you're still going to get a fat price on them at that point, where you can kind of confirm if this thing has gone belly up, or if they have been able to sustain the way that they've been playing. I just at 13-1. Look, the Tankathon was a great call out there in terms of who they have remaining, because they've got 7 games between the Avalanche, the Stars, and the Canes. Looks like a bunch of L's to me, and certainly at least 4 of them.
I mean, there's teams in their division though that I'm like, I mean, I am so on the Leafs not making the playoffs. I think that is a bad team. I think McInnis, you and I have talked about this. Like that team, they just don't play well defensively. They get all their production is out of their first line, and they don't get it. And there's certain things that I want to. It's so weird because you look at the East, and bottom to top is separated by like 7 points. And
it's so much worse top to bottom too. It's just again general points, but like if you look, like, my God, the Avs, Stars, and Wild, like the poor Mammoth. The Mammoth would be like right in the playoff hunt if they're in the Metro,
they're in
the Atlantic.
Gauntlet,
but they have to play the Stars, Wild, and Avalanche to try and win and get in that division.
That's why I don't blame the Wild for doing what they did. Like, there's going to be the people out there, and I listen to 32 Thoughts as well, Adam, like great podcast. Love those guys. And like, but there's going to be people that are saying like, oh, it's only a win for Minnesota if they can re-sign Quinn.
I don't agree. Yeah.
What's the point of sports? What's the point of being a GM? Don't you try and win? Like, look at the Hurricanes. Like, they're like, I don't know what your guys' take is on this, but like, I think that each team has their own kind of benchmark they're trying to get over at a certain point, right? Like last year for the Canadians, it was be in the mix. That word was their key word all year. This year, it's disappointment probably if they don't make the playoffs, but they've been injured and yada, yada, younger team. But when you look at the Wild, because of the division, I think that move is probably a big part of it is because of the division. You have to go for it, because if you're not going to, there's no shot you're going to get like a lucky draw and do well. Like, there's a lot of teams that many years have had a tougher first round than second round, like 110%. And it's like, why does this make sense? Well, and a good example is going to be this, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but the LA Dodgers, weren't they going through every single stage of the MLB playoffs? They were a wild card team, right?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
So
they had to play.
They almost
two of their series. They had to play on the road. The Phillies.
Look at the Florida Panthers
World Series.
They don't care where they get into. They don't care. They're 4-1, right, to win the division. But if you look at conference odds, and cup odds, it's a little bit different. And you look at the Lightning -120. Like, I feel like, CJ, I got to ask you your thought on this. I understand how the futures are built. It's a lot of it about preseason odds as well. But I honestly think Bruins at 30-1 is more of a slap in the face than Detroit at 13.
They were 75-1 2 weeks ago, and they were only 2 points back.
I don't think they're going to win the division, but I feel like that because at least like I trust their defensemen more than I trust Detroit's defensemen. I just think Detroit has to score 4 or 5 to win games moving forward.
Their goalies are so much better too. They on
Korpisalo, man.
Yeah, he's been way better than he's. Yeah, and dude, Swayman's great. Like I don't care. Like, and he's gotten into really good form lately. He's been saving. He's been standing on his head for 13 straight games. Like he's that kind of guy.
Well, also Boston. I mean, they, 26th best strength of schedule remaining. I mean, that's obviously a key thing compared to when you're looking at the wings. I'm kind of I'm trying to see here because I want to look at Corsi and Fenwick from their defensive side, and like they're fine. Where is Boston? I kind of want to look at like. So yeah, I mean, so far this season, like defensively, they have definitely not been as probably stout as they need to. Shots blocked, they're elite. They're one of the best shot blocking teams in all of the NHL. I'm kind of looking here in the last 5, they've actually been playing a lot better defensively. If you're looking kind of at the Fenwick and Corsi stuff. So yeah, my thing with Boston is that's definitely a much better price for sure. So, and they're only 1 point behind Detroit with a easier strength of schedule. So from a value standpoint, I would agree with you on that I would probably just fire on the 30-1. But as far as like if you look at actually like sort of some of the defensive stuff in their team metrics, they're a little bit closer to Detroit than you give, I guess, Boston credit for typically, but also you might be betting like, look, they've been underachieving, whereas Detroit has been, we would say, overachieving. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's fine.
What's Boston to make the playoffs in front of you? Because that's the other thing is that you get to a point like last year, like Florida and Toronto and Tampa were in this jam in the front of the division, and Florida was like, well, we don't actually need to win the division. What's that?
Boston's 2-1 to make the playoffs.
So that's the bet, because they don't have to win the division to do, like, that's what I was saying about how the playoff format is so screwy. Like Florida did this last year.
Well, and you look at the Metro too. Like again, and this is also knowing the format and knowing that the 2 wild cards can come from the same division. So you've got if I'm looking kind of at the Metro, and I wanted to come on this so bad,
team, by the way.
I wanted to come on this so bad and talk about how my Pittsburgh Penguins have been a surprise and that they've lost 6 in a row.
And then they downgraded their goaltending to help out my worst record bet.
Yeah, well, it's because of the other guy that they've got calling up.
Bring Crosby home. Bring Crosby to the Habs.
Dude, wait. Side note, I'm going to throw the Edmonton Oilers under the bus. The fact that the Edmonton Oilers had all these goalie problems, couldn't get Carter Hart to come home and sign there and carry his team. Like, all that team needed was him to do that. The fact that they couldn't pull that off, that's a joke of a franchise. I'm sorry. Keep going.
If the Oilers say it wasn't politically, it was.
Yeah, I've seen enough Tristan Jarry starts to know that he is not going to win you a Stanley Cup in that. Just saying that out loud. But to your point, back to the 2-1 though to make the playoffs. Like if you look at the Metro, we look, everybody's afraid of Tampa Bay. We all know that Florida, they're sitting there at 36 points. It's kind of just a wait and see with them. They'll obviously, I think, start playing better. But I look at these teams in the Metro and I'm like, okay, Flyers, you brought up, have been coached playing really well, kind of a surprise. Capitals,
Forster's out for the year though. That's a huge hit for them. It's their leading goal scorer.
Flamed out last year. Their goal differential weirdly is actually one of the best in the East at this point. And we know that the Penguins are, look, I was making the case to bet Penguins worst record in NHL or lowest point total prior to the season. So they started off a little bit hotter than we expected, but yeah, there's a lot more paths for Boston to make the playoffs versus if you're trying to make this bet on, say, like the Kings or the Mammoth, much harder path to do that in the West versus trying to usurp some of those teams from the Metro.
They got to fix that. They got to fix the playoffs and do that. And I mean, back
to the 1 through 8. I don't understand why.
They don't do that. Just go back to the 1 through 8.
Division, you get a playoff spot. Other than that, you just do 1 through 8.
I don't know. I will say that there is. I mean, I'm high on the Caps. I like watching the Isles do well, but like the Isles are in this weird position where they're like, it's great if we do well, but this wasn't part, like we're a year ahead of where they are a year. This year was a year away from being a year away, and great for them. I love the Cats personally, just because that team, the problem is like if Dylan Strome isn't in that lineup, that team falls apart, but defensively they're fantastic. And Logan Thompson, if anyone outside of the East Coast knew who he was, he would be Vezina. He would be leading for Vezina. He's just been outstanding. Flyers, I'm trying to fade now that Forster's out because they can't make a move. They're in no man's land where their goal should be 90 points and not the playoffs because they're not going to be able to go. They don't have like Dan Vladar is not going to carry that team.
Well, the Metro is the biggest thing this year. Like, CJ, you were saying about like Ottawa and Montreal making the playoffs last year, the wild cards. Like, my best guess is that we get one of each. We get an Atlantic and a Metro as the wild cards this year, right? And I think that's what kind of like it's kind of cool looking at, will a team make the playoffs or not? Because, I saw a funny tweet someone had yesterday where it's like, okay, if obviously it's Tuesday, so it was a busy slate, but it was like, okay, so if the Habs win tonight, they could be first place in their division. If they lose, there's a chance they're out of the playoffs, right? And like
out of the playoffs.
That's how crazy it is right now. So looking at some, but I think the Metro is, as much as I'm a big Atlantic guy, the Metro has been interesting. Look at, we got Carolina, New York, and Philly, obviously, but look at the 3 of the 4 teams in the wild card hunt. Washington, then Montreal, Pittsburgh, New Jersey. And then everyone knows that the Panthers are kind of like that shark that's just like kind of waiting to like just start jumping in and, making a difference and kind of biting you. And nobody really knows when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen eventually. And I believe they just beat the Kings. So, this team is going to start stacking up points. You know who I think is the most underrated Canadian team, though? Yeah. Like you put the Ottawa Senators and you put all those players in an Oilers jersey or a Leafs jersey. People love the Ottawa Senators.
Are you about to say?
I think that the Ottawa Senators. I think the Ottawa Senators are just super underrated. Like I hate to say it because they're like a big
goalie metrics. Goalie metrics show that they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. They limit shots, and Linus is great at controlling rebounds. Like I agree. And Brady never stops firing.
Yeah, which Canadian team has the best Stanley Cup future value? Like I was on Sports Rage with Morency, and it's always, you never know what he's going to ask me there. And he's like, which Canadian team is the best team? And he's like, I threw out the Senators because everyone expects you to say like, Oilers, Leafs. Like I'm a Canadiens fan. It's not bad odds. Really.
This year I'm a Canadiens fan. I still like our St. Louis future if they go on a run. I mean, there's so much can happen. Like there's a 19-day break over the Olympics. That's going to cool off so many teams. It's going to be so weird.
I swear this is also the last plug here for Handigraphs, but you are certainly not wrong there on Ottawa, because if you go and you look at some of those defensive metrics on the Corsi, on the Fenwick, on the shots on goal.
Elite,
elite on
they're great.
Those metrics. Expected goals per game is top 5.
That's why I take Linus under save. Like so this is the last thing, then we'll wrap this up because I know we went a little long, but the one of the things I look for on betting save, like people love to bet overs, but betting unders is really, really doable on our site because I'll look at, low shots on goal and low rebounds. Cool. They're not even letting the puck get there. They're like Ottawa's insane defensively, and they're an elite team at scoring early. Just anecdotally watching them, they love to do that because then they play possession puck the rest of the time, and they are perfectly fine doing that. To Andrew's point, like they're very solid. They're a much sexier version of what the Flames are trying to do, and just nobody wants to play on that team. Like people actually want to play on the Senators, so it's kind of wild.
One thing I'm jealous of them and the Anaheim Ducks, 2 teams that the Montreal Canadiens can learn from, is that they have a really good mix of youth and vets. And I guess it's hard to really use a guy like Batherson as still youth, but like that's one thing the Montreal Canadiens are lacking right now. They got rid of Armia and Dvorak in the offseason, and they just played Dvorak for the Flyers last night. He's at $5.5 million a year for a 1-year deal, but they're also talking about a trade speculation to trade for Phil Deneau, and he makes like 5.5, 6 a year. So it's like you're going to trade for a guy when you could have just re-signed a guy that does the exact same thing. Like you know the Flyers. They're not a good high event team, but Christian Dvorak is a great centerman and a great
Tocchet loves him. Tocchet loves him. He plugs in everywhere, and he's been great.
Like he's not gonna let fans be like, oh my god, and like go crazy, but like he does the job. And that look at Sean Couturier, he does the same thing. So I think that's what's cool about, you know, you look at the Ducks, they've got Chris Kreider, they've got Ryan Strome, they've got now the undefensed Jacob Trouba. And you look at, you know, David Perron, you've got Claude Giroux, you've got different guys in the Sens. And I hate to say it, but like the Habs older guys on forward are like Brendan Gallagher and Josh Anderson and
Lane.
Josh Anderson.
I would argue Patrick Lane. Like a lot of these guys who are, I would consider him older because he's been hurt or he hasn't been around. He's literally he's like a Corey Perry, but 10 years younger because he's only useful on the power play. That's it.
Yeah, like these podcasts I watch, like post game, they're like freaking out, and I get it. Like Marty St. Louis says himself, like, "Oh, I'm not going to use like age as an excuse," but it's like if you're going to freak out for all these mistakes they're making, you have to understand that like there's not one, like they need to make a trade soon, and I don't know if it's going to be like a huge splash like Nazem Kadri or Ryan O'Reilly or whoever, but they need to trade for someone that's over 30 years old. Like you need someone that's going to be a stopgap because you can't build a proper team without some leadership. Like, and you know what the worst is? Like some people are starting to question, like, well, is Nick Suzuki someone that can lead a team? Look, he's obviously not like a loud type of leader. He's a lead as I do, but they need, imagine Nazem Kadri in that locker room as the second line centerman. He would really change the game.
Really good fit. Kadri would be a really, really good fit on that team. Just, that's
big bro vibes. He kind of gives those big brother vibes.
Absolutely. Well, and he's solid defensively too, and like that. But he's also not afraid to shoot, and that's what I see about that team is that sometimes they're randomly afraid to shoot, and you know, and they're So we could talk about this all day. This is awesome. A lot of the people who've been waiting for a deep hockey episode were just massively rewarded. Andrew, tell everybody. Thanks for coming for this. This was awesome. And CJ, you got feedback. You got great feedback on your product. Tell everybody where they can find you and when.
Main thing I'm doing is Puck Time at 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. You guys can check that out. And then I've got the pre-scout, which is either posted late at night or early morning. I check it early in the morning. We're using HOF. We're looking at player props, and we're looking at 1 or 2 games each night overnight. And I kind of, you know, I'm a situational guy. I'm an eye test guy, but I've been reading the market a lot more these days. So I love doing these videos because I'm recording them at like midnight, just from an opening number perspective and trying to beat some numbers. And then the next day on Puck Time, we more so react to what we've seen with the overnight moves and all that good stuff. So love using the website, guys. Love diving into player props and learning from you guys. And I had a really, really good time. Hopefully we can do it again. And that was kind of one thing, CJ. I know you said it's okay to throw stuff at you in the middle of the show, but that was one thing because I'm a huge team totals guy. And I was like, how could I phrase it? I know that's probably not too hard to dig up, but maybe it's already there and I'm just too stupid to realize.
No, but I mean, the beauty of stuff that, you know, we as the season's gone on, obviously it's our first season in hockey on the site, but once we kind of build all of the sort of the data that you've got on the back end for this, like it's actually pretty easy to start building out some additional splits. And just as sort of something that we'll be at some point putting out for hockey as another addition, will be sort of like a game center. So you'll be able to, right now you go to each tab, you can kind of see all of the different, you can do your own research obviously and pick the different games. At some point we are going to have some sort of like overview that will show you, here's all the games today. If you just want a quick snapshot of what is this team good at, what is this team bad at, very similar to some of the other, you know, sites and stuff that you might be using, but we'll have sort of like a game center that you'll be able to also kind of view, like how have they done in the last 5, you know, home games, etc. A little bit more of like the overall record stuff. We'll have that too.
And I think the Handigraphs has completely debunked people's theory that goalies don't matter anymore when handicapping because they really do. And the big reason why they do is because teams are using more than one goalie all the time. So great stuff, guys.
Yeah, dude. And everybody who enjoyed this are like, I want to get on that HG hockey, use it in the monthly sign up. and then you get free.
There's only monthly right now. So if you guys are signing up,
you don't even have to worry about it. Then there you go.
Don't worry about annual. There will be an annual coming up in March. Yeah. We'll have more of that once we get closer to baseball season. Adam's the CMO. I'm the CEO and trying to.
I just overpromise to partners and then underdeliver.
That's your job. You're the hype man.
All right. With all of that being said, all the things that you guys have heard, once again, thank you, Hall of Fame Bets, for being an awesome sponsor. Use code DADS. Or actually use McInnis's code. You got enough of you guys have signed up for us that you guys should. McInnis, what's your code that they gave you?
It's just Andrew.
Okay, use Andrew. Use code Andrew. No, seriously, like this is you get to use code Andrew because a lot of you guys have signed up for us, but use code Andrew. We all use Hall of Fame Bets, like we love it. And CJ, with everything that we said, what is the final word?
HG hockey.